Hello, everybody. How are ya? Woo. Welcome to the special edition of Rewind Theater featuring Norse Oath of Blood, a turn-based tactics game set in Viking-era Norway. I am so excited to get into the trailer, so please join me in welcoming creative director Terje Lundberg and narrative director Phil Stevens. Welcome. Guys, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Are you guys ready to roll the trailer?
Yeah, let's go.
Can't wait.
All right, without further ado, here's the world premiere trailer for Norse Oath of Blood.
It is a strange crew which sets out on the sea road. No one would expect the gods to cast an eye upon this little vessel.
My lord, we have been betrayed.
Together, we will destroy this Steinar for his treachery.
Let's get this shit bucket going.
Gunnar, I want to talk to you, and I think you'll like it.
This will fit beautifully.
There is something about you, Gunnar Grimson. Perhaps it is the favor of the gods that I sense.
Your woman hits me harder when she's riding my serpent.
Lord of Ravens, I will kill him. I swear it. Steinar Farspear will die.
Wow, guys, that trailer was jam-packed with so many details. Can you guys help me break it down?
Norse is a turn-based tactics game set in the Viking Age back in Norway. For the audience, it's more heavily inspired by XCOM series, Wasteland, and more recently also Baldur's Gate 3, which is more like narrative-driven, because Norse is a very heavily narrative-driven game.
Yeah, so in this first clip, we get a look at the combat and setting, right? I've heard it be called, like you said, very inspired by XCOM. We called it AXCOM.
Oh, yeah.
Which I know you guys like. Can you give me a little bit more of like a deep dive into what that means for combat and the environment?
You guys, when we released the first little tidbit of information about the game, we came to you guys. You released a little teaser for us. And you branded it XCOM, which is really, really cool. It's stick with us throughout the production, and yeah, really honored about getting that one.
Amazing. And then can you tell me a little bit more about the setting and where this takes place?
Well, as I said, it's in Norway, back in the Viking era, around the year 800. The Vikings are not been christened yet. They're pagans, basically. And this is right before we start sort of like branching out and raiding Europe. So the entire game is set in Norway, and that's where we're going to stay in this final version.
Amazing. Then in the second clip from the trailer, we get a look at our protagonist. Can you tell me a little bit about our protagonist, who they are, how they fit into the story of Norse?
Yeah, sure. So our protagonist is a young warrior called Gunnar Grimson, kind of headstrong but honorable young warrior. And he's the son of a Viking chieftain called Jarl Griper of Bora. And over the course of the game, he has to become a successful leader, a fearless warrior, and a kind of a manager of men to go on a quest for revenge across Viking-Age Norway.
Yeah, well, in this next clip, we actually see moments before tragedy, two men meeting on this pier, this dock. What can you tell us about him?
So there's this guy on the right-hand side here. He's Jarl Griper, that's Gunnar's father, and he's the leader of this settlement, Bora. And on the left here, we have Steinar Farspear, and he's Jarl Griper's champion or prowman. And in this scene, which is quite early on in the game, he's been away visiting another Viking chieftain, doing a diplomatic mission, and he's just returned home, and he's being greeted by his Jarl on the dock. And there's, like, Gripa's quite pleased to see him, but probably shouldn't be, because Steinar has malicious intents, and Gripa's day is going to get pretty bad.
Yeah, we do see that betrayal by Steinar. Can you give us a little bit more context into what leads to this pivotal moment?
Well, Steinar is an ambitious man. He's a true Viking, and he believes that Jarl Gripa has grown soft. He would rather trade and grow crops rather than do the more traditional Viking pastimes of raiding and going to war. And so Steinar decides to betray his Jarl and take the high seat of Bora and Bora itself for himself. This forces Gunnar and his twin sister Sigrid and Gripa's sword brother Arn to have to flee and escape Bora to save their lives.
Yeah, so then we see after they escape, the beginnings of an alliance. Can you tell us a little bit about who the person that we see next is and how they sort of fit into the puzzle?
Yeah, sure. So this guy here, he's called Jarl Egil. And Jarl Egil is Gunnar and Sigrid's uncle. And after Steinar's betrayal, they flee, they go to his settlement of Kaupang, and they ask him for help. And he says, I will give you a small piece of land, I'll give you a ship and a small crew and resources. Go, build a reputation for yourselves, bring warriors to your side, and when you're strong enough, we'll join forces and we'll go and take the fight back to Steinar and take back your birthright.
And we do see the beginnings of that settlement in the next clip. What sort of tools can players use to, sort of customize and make their settlement their own?
So the management part of the game is quite huge compared to other games in this genre. It's sort of like 50-50 between management and combat. Your ultimate goal is, of course, take your little piece of land, grow it out to be a formidable village. And one of the key elements is the workers, what we call sort of like the main workers, or blacksmith, seamstress, and huntsman are the main workers in this city. And they do all the crafting, all your items, weapons, utility items. Most of it is crafted in your village. And of course, you have something we call projects. All the buildings in the village that you sort of like make throughout the game also come with projects that you can sort of like upgrade them. So as an example, for the blacksmith, the forge, you can make a charcoal kiln to produce more iron, like resources. You can make a whetstone to make your blades bite better, do more damage. So yeah, the settlement stuff and the management part plays a great part in this game.
Awesome. Then the other side of that, we see a montage of combat, including all sorts of status effects like momentum, crippled, bleed. What sort of tools do players have at their disposal to get the upper hand in the combat side of things?
Well, we have 5 combat classes in the game. I'll talk a bit about them a bit later. But for combat, I would say the most important thing is positioning. Every unit reacts to their closest threats, so you won't be able to run up to someone and backstab them, because they will actually turn and face you. And this is where status effects comes in, to lock people down, so you're able to start flanking them and doing backstabs and all that kind of stuff. So as soon as you use engage, cripple, dazed, or get some status effects onto an enemy, your other allies will be able to flank them, hitting them from the sides or from behind. By doing so, you also have a bigger chance of hitting, of course, but you also have critical hits, guaranteed. And if you kill someone, it's also triggers an execution. Executions heals the guy who actually does the execution, but it also gives something called momentum to every ally on your party. And having momentum continuously going on your herdman is important, because it deals extra damage the next turn. So it's great.
Very cool. It seems like you kind of get that snowball effect. Next up, we see a glimpse into the character classes, item forging, and someone actually joining our warband. What kinds of characters can players recruit as their herdmen? And as a follow-up, what is a herdman?
A herdman is sort of like your Viking entourage. I would say, if you're familiar with games like XCOM and stuff, your combat roster. It's where you pick your warriors to go into battle with you. There's several ways to come across these herdmen throughout the game. Some are by visiting neighboring villages. As soon as you start growing your own name, growing more powerful, people will come and join you. Other ways is through missions. You can end up saving someone that becomes a herdman, or through events in the village. They're passing through and really like what they see and join you, basically.
Now, before we go to the next clip, I want to ask you guys, what class would you guys be if you were in Norse?
Well, Phil?
I think, to be honest, I'd like to say that I'd be like a berserker or like, you know, a wrecker with a double-handed axe, but the reality is I'd probably want to be as far away from anyone that was going to try and hit me with a weapon as possible. Mm-hmm. So I'd probably be a bogmather and be an archer. At least I could hide in the trees and just shoot people.
Terje?
That didn't come as a surprise, to be honest. But yeah, I would definitely be a berserker, maybe a wrecker with a two-handed axe. Doing immense damage. Yeah, that's more me, up front.
All right, I love it.
Yeah.
All right, in this next clip, there's something that like stands out to me about how physical the combat gets in the montage, right? Talk to me about how your team used Unreal Engine 5 to sort of make Norse feel very, you know, real and authentic.
Well, Unreal 5 has been invaluable to us throughout development. It's really enabled us to get the most out of our gameplay, our motion capture, our cinematic inserts. It's helped us at every turn. And it's enabled us to kind of build this vivid Norse world that would have been, I think, very difficult to do even a short time ago at a game of our level. So yeah, it's an incredible piece of technology. It's also enabled us to capture some of the nuances of our stunt teams and our performers in a way that, you know, once again, wouldn't have been possible a short time ago. You can capture every impact, every small expression, and that just helps in the immersion of the game.
Within that same vein, the next montage, it just like has these moments that feel very like intense and emotive. How did your team go about crafting the revenge story for Norse Oath of Blood?
Well, we set out to make a playable historical epic and create a vivid and exciting world that players could really get involved in. To build that vision, we were really fortunate to have our story written by best-selling international author Giles Christian. And Giles has shaped this rich, compelling narrative and this cast of incredible characters that you want to spend more time with, you want to find out more about and explore their world. Also, motion capture in itself, the way that we approached motion capture has been really important for the immersion of the game for us. We work with a fantastic team in London called Target 3D, and they enabled us to shoot our motion capture sequences as if we were shooting live action film. So we were able to bring a director of photography in, our sound recordist, have complex scenes played out, sometimes with up to 11 actors in the volume at one time. And they could work off each other, actually, because we were capturing sound at the same time. They'd inhabit their characters properly. You'd really feel the emotion in the room whilst it was happening. And I think that just really helps bring the players into our world.
Yeah. And then finally, in the trailer, we see the title card, and I got really hyped. What would you guys like to say to people that are excited to jump into Norse?
I mean, we'd just like to thank everyone who supported the game up to this point and who, hopefully people like what they see and they're going to continue to support the game. We can't wait to get this game out into the world and to show people. If people would like to know more, please do follow us on social media, on Discord for any news and announcements.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Hang on. I want to do a quick shout out as well while we're here to Tripwire and Arctic Hazard. Get on those oars, get this long ship to shore. I'm really proud of what we achieved so far. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. You can wishlist Norse Oath of Blood right now, coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC. And for all things Norse, keep it locked to IGN.
Thanks for having me.